Yo, how's it going? So it wouldn't be very good of me to share these things without talking about the lead up to. Okay, so before I take off driving, I got to do a pre-trip inspection, all this kind of stuff, right? Generally, want to get something to drink. Might have a snack or two, you know what I mean? However, there's this whole other thing that may or may not be necessary. However, it is to be aware of. Now, I've went many days, wake up, go. You know what I mean? Just, yeah. And sound asleep, eyes awake, putting on the nail pouch, you know, swinging a hammer. You know what I mean? And sleep in the truck, riding to work. Like, there was a guy, Paul Hamilton, we built chicken houses. He was working over in Kentucky. And I would wake up, get in the truck, go back to sleep, wake up, eat breakfast, get back in the truck, go back to sleep. And then I'd wake up and go to work. And then one day Paul says to me, he said, "How do you do that?" I was like, "What?" And he's like, "You sleep all the way to the job, but you're always the first guy working when we get to the job site." And I was just like, "Well, we're here to work, ain't we? I mean, like, let's get it done, you know. The quicker we get done, the quicker we go home, you know." And all I have is my perspective. Okay, so I'm looking at the world through my eyes, and I'm taking in these inputs, and I'm calling it reality when I'm assessing with my senses. So it's critical to understand that everybody's got all these things going on. Your life's real complicated. You got all these things going on. So do all these other people. I'm not even going to try to know their business. It would be futile. I'm not going to try to figure out when it's the end of the world. Because Jesus said, like, he didn't even know. So, like, why am I going to bother with that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be ready to die right now. And I'm going to prepare to live for, 3 generations. You know, it says a good man lays up stuff for his kids and grandkids, right? So if I want to be a good man, based on biblical information, I need to leave a lineage where my grandkids are, generationally sufficient. And most of that's live a good life. So like I transfer, understanding and wisdom and genetics and wealth, money, assets, whatever that may be. So I want to do that, right? So like be ready to die right now, cool, and then like live for 300 years. Like when I was roofing, I always wanted to make a roof that lasted 400 years. That was the number I settled on. Because I grew up with a hole in the roof. So like I was like, they're paying how much to put the roof on this house? Are you serious right now? And I'd see this old guy and his wife, and they're like grandma, whatever. And I'm just like, I want to do a good job. The manufacturer's kind of out of my control. What it costs and all this kind of stuff, I don't know. But I can make sure this is installed properly for them. So what's within my control, I want to do that to the utmost and best. And later on, reading the Bible and stuff like that, I started doing that. I read it said, do all your work as if you're doing it for the Lord Himself. So as I go and I'm doing these things, my intent is going to affect my emotional state, which will affect my actions. So the more I have the same agreement with the Bible, the more that I'm doing things in an accurate way. So nobody's going to have to tell me go to work every day. Nobody's going to tell me that. Because I know I'm supposed to work, and I know I'm supposed to work with my hands, and I agree, and I enjoy that. So, yeah, right. I feel like it makes God smile because I'm being obedient to His will. What's His will? Well, it's his will that none shall perish. You know what I mean? And then later on, it says it's a narrow path and only a few find it. And I'm like, bro, God's not even getting his way. God's not even getting his way. It's his will that none shall perish. And then all these people are going to hell. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you. Brace yourself. And it hit me, and I was like, man, fuck that. I ain't going to let him go out like that. You know, Jesus done died for me. I'm going to go out here and get him. That's my emotional state. That's why I'm doing that. That's like why this channel exists. That is the 5-minute ministry. You know what I mean? And I want to wake up and read my Bible, and I want to get so much Bible in me, because I can't give you what I don't have. So I want to get it in me so I can give it. And then being rando, talking to these people, you know what I mean? This random people, the random evangelism. This person didn't go to church to get saved today. This guy's on his way to work. He's trying to make a cup of coffee, and it takes a minute for the pot to do its thing, to put the jelly or whatever stuff they put in it, and then go on about his business. You know what I'm saying? And I got to be about my Father's business, and in that moment that I could just be the light appropriately, specifically for the individual. I cannot do that without the Holy Spirit. I cannot do that. At one point in my life, I got on my knees in the snow and took my shirt off and everything. I was just like suicidal, because I've been trying to help this family for years or whatever like that. And like there was all this other stuff, and I'm on my knees, and I'm just like, I might as well just lay down and die. There's nothing I can do, for real. That's where I was at. And I cried out to God. I said, God, I can't do it. You're gonna have to do it. And just clear as a bell, I heard, well, it's about time you figured that out. You know, like, he was all laid back. You know, he's like, well, it's about time you figured that out. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Put my shirt on, put my coat on, walked yonder, made one phone call. My dad showed up with this Dodge pickup with his blue with white racing stripes. And I have that truck now. It's getting a motor put in it right now. And I want to later on give it to my son. But all those years ago, you know what I mean? I'm out there and I'm just witnessing. I'm just trying. You know what I mean? I see this guy and his wife, and they're good people, but they're just wayward and addictions and all kinds of stuff. And their kids are like getting up to the point where they're ready to start having kids. And yeah, it's going bad. It's just bad. And then there's some more bad. There's some bad. And I was, you know, sharing the songs and stuff like that. Like I was on a mission from God at that time. Like I actually, like literally was on a mission to deliver songs to the churches. And they sang at the time, probably not now. I can start singing it now, and I guarantee you everyone would know the song. And yeah, and it was just so heartbreaking seeing the road that they were on, and no matter what I did, I could not change it. You know what I mean? And that's why I thank God in His mercy He's got me out of here in this truck talking to these people randomly. Because it just, I mean, it pulls my guts out to watch these people just, it's hard, man, it's hard. And then I see that in God, and you know what I mean, then you read the shortest verse in the Bible, and it just said Jesus wept. Like, that's the whole thing, that's the full stop. Jesus wept, you know, and I know what that's like. I don't want him to have to go through that no more. Whatever I can do to help put an end to Jesus wept. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, well, what can I do today to put a smile on God's face? You know what I mean? Like, He's dealing with everybody and pushing up every blade of grass. And like, I mean, you know, there's a movie, Bruce Almighty, and you see him trying to like be God or whatever like that. And like what that would look like, you know, which is kind of a funny movie or whatever. I don't think it's anywhere close to accurate, but I was just considering stuff, and I'm just thinking about him, and I'm just like, man, you know, it would sure be nice. You know, if I had 8 billion kids, and I look down and like 7 billion of them are just out of line. I mean, bad. Like, cast fire upon them, bad. It would sure be nice to see one every now and then that's just like, you know, trying. At least, I mean, like, come on, man, like you ain't got to be perfect, you know. And then I'm reading the Bible, and somebody pointed it out later on. It was somebody off the YouTube, and they're like, we're not called to be perfect. We're called to be blameless. Like, hey, can you blame them? We're not called to be perfect. We're called to be blameless. I don't even know who that was that said spam risk. So, you know, you just want to deliver the word at the moment. Man, and I just want to put a smile on God's face. I want to put a smile on y'all's face today. And I want you to really consider you can have a routine where you get up and you know, work out, brush your teeth, you know, read your Bible and all these other kind of things. And then life happens and you don't get that. You just gotta bam, go into action type of deal. You know what I mean? And make him smile, dude. Like, you know, you don't have to like learn the entire Mosaic law and keep it down to the letter today, right now. You know what I mean? You can just say, God, like, I'm a sinner, please forgive me. And then just like generally, like just don't tell a lie. I'm not even telling you to be honest. I'm telling you to shut up. you can just not say nothing. And there's a part in the proverb that said if you don't say nothing, everybody will assume that you're wise, which is a solid strategy. You know what I mean? Like, and another part that says, let patience have its perfect work, and then you will be complete, lacking nothing. And I'm like, okay, that's a mouthful. So breaking that down in the next one. All right, Rock Hill, go get them.